Here is a nice picture that I drew actually some time ago when this arc was going on of old White Chase Smoker over there. So if you like this type of drawing and more, remember to follow me on things like the Twitter and Instagram, Facebook, and even Google+. Yeah, One Piece Loguetown Arc Recap, chapters 96 to 100.
Well, hello, my brothers and sisters of the Nerd Nation. I, as always, am Jim, here to bring you another arc recap. This is for the sixth and final arc, actually, of the East Blue Saga, and it's entitled the Loguetown Arc. The name was actually changed, though, in the manga to Roguetown, and but as I understand it from doing just a little bit of research, trying to stay spoiler-free, of course, Loguetown or Logtown was the original meaning for it. I was just a little thrown off because the way it was in the manga, and then the way I saw. And then, of course, too, you know, the whole deal with the L and the R. So, without further ado, we will dive right in, shall we? I'll just kind of give a quick recap of the events and then maybe talk a bit about what some of the events that I thought were significant. This was a very short arc, actually the shortest one, second only to the first arc, of course, in East Blue, which was the Romance Dawn, which was 7 chapters. This one was only 5 chapters. As I understand, too, supposedly the anime, I guess, actually has an extra couple of episodes that were maybe filler kind of side stories. But what happens is after the events of Arlong Park, the crew winds up stopping here, stopping at this island at Logtown or Loguetown. And they're stopping there, mainly just to kind of supply up and get ready to head out onto the Grand Line. They wind up stopping, and one of the significant things that happens almost right off the bat is from the events in Arlong Park and the Baratier arc and everything before it, Luffy is now a wanted man. The world government has put a price on his head of 30 million berries. And that's significant because he has not had a price on his head before. He kind of treats it, as if it's nothing, and Nami's like, you don't understand, this is going to make it harder, on everyone. So they wind up getting into town over there, and Luffy wants to go. This is where Gold Roger was executed. It's where he was born, and it's also where he was killed. So Luffy wants to go see the platform of the gallows that they had him on, or whatever you want to call that, basically the platform where they killed him and cut off his head. And Luffy wants to go see that. Obviously he wants to be the king of the pirates, and he kind of looks up to this man, blah, 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 We're also introduced very early on as well in this arc to a character that's kind of a mysterious figure, at least to me at this point, and his name is Dragon. He's got this cool-looking tattoo on his face, and he comes into play towards the end of the arc. But basically what happens is the crew goes into town, and they all kind of split up and go their separate ways. Sanji's looking for some food. Obviously he's the cook on the ship. Usopp goes off and winds up just looking for some things he needs, some supplies. Nami goes clothes shopping, and Zoro goes and splits off. He winds up bumping into a girl named Tashigi. We find out she's actually later on that she's a Marine, and looks very, very much like the girl from back in his past, that he had obviously committed to, one of them being the greatest swordsman in the world. So there's all those connections there. Because of the events that wound up happening when he fought Dracul Mihawk, it was a very one-sided fight back in the Baratier, Zoro is down to only one sword and had only one sword in the Arlong Park arc. So his little side quest, and really the only one of significance, is going off and going to a local shop, a local swordsmith's, where he bumps into Tashigi again, and winds up getting 2 swords. The shop owner tries swindling him out of the one sword that he has, and we find out a little bit about the different types of swords, the fine, super fine, the different grades of swords and how many are out there in the world. So for me, that's kind of a cool thing because I've always been a collector of sorts of different things and had wanted to get into various things with weapons. So to me, it was just a neat thing. Significant or not, I don't know, but certainly it's always nice to find out more about the world around you. He winds up picking out this one that's it's a fine grade sword, and it's Katetsu the Third or Katetsu 3, and it's obviously the third version of the sword, but it's a cursed sword. And Zoro does one of the most significant moments in the whole arc for me, and I'm just kind of incorporating some of those things into the recap, is Zoro goes and grabs the sword, and then just goes and tosses it up in the air, and it flips end over end over end, and just sticks his arm straight out, just like the badass he is, and figures, well, if it's cursed, and, we'll see how my luck works against the curse, right? And the thing comes down, you're thinking, oh, man, it cut his freaking arm right off, and it winds up just missing him. And basically he's trying to, you know, it's first of all he's just a badass. Okay, he really is. He's got just balls like the size of watermelons. And second of all, that's like his whole deal is that, you know what, if my luck is not stronger than this curse, I'm not even worthy of the sword to begin with. So. What we do wind up seeing though is Luffy when he goes to actually visit the platform that the death place, I guess you would call, of the final moments that Gold Roger was around. We see Luffy go and check out the platform and everything else, and he has been followed there or intercepted there. We find out very quickly by none other than Buggy, Captain Old Buggy the Clown and his crew, and he's with this mysterious woman who we find out very quickly is Alvida, the big giant pig-like woman from the second chapter of the book of the Romance Dawn arc of One Piece. And she has eaten the devil fruit, the slip fruit. She no longer looks like herself. She looks like she has gone to Jenny Craig and taken off all the weight, or done the Subway Jared diet thing or whatever. But this slip fruit, number one, allows nothing to harm her. It just kind of slips past her skin. And then also, I guess all the fat just slipped off of her because she's like supermodel, like thin waist, giant bust, gorgeous now, right? Well, they wind up going and getting the drop on Luffy, and long story even longer, they wind up just going and pretty much, they have all their crew in the crowd, and they wind up getting the drop on Luffy, and they're able to. It's Kabaji that winds up sneaking up behind him and gets him up on the platform, and they're going to execute him, right? Moji, if you remember, the lion tamer, and his lion Richie have been sent to the Straw Hat ship, the Going Merry, to burn it down, so even if any of them do escape, they can't get away, right? And all this stuff is going on simultaneously, and we wind up finding it's Zoro and Sanji who wind up, finding out about Luffy to be executed in the in the square and everything like that. We also are introduced to Captain Smoker, who is a devil fruit. He is a bearer of the devil fruit of the smoke fruit, I guess, and he's actually pretty cool as well. So his people are descending upon the square at the same time that Sanji and Zoro are trying to get there. Right as it looks like Luffy is about to die, his head's down, and it's really cool because he one of the significant points in this whole arc for me is that he goes and he basically makes peace with, I'm a pirate, this is what I want to do, because Buggy's like, don't you have any last words and this and that? And Luffy is just very straightforward and determined. He's not begging for his life, nothing like that. He's basically just like, hey, listen, man, when I put this goal in mind, I already resigned myself to, if I die, I die. But I'm not going to give up or deter from that goal, and it was really, really cool to see that. Right as the sword's raised above his head and he's about to go and cut his head off, some kind of storm or whatever appears and comes, and Nami had been mentioning about how I felt like there's a storm coming anyway the whole time they were in town, but lightning hits Buggy's sword, and Buggy gets electrocuted. Luffy, of course, is fine and probably just conducts electricity, but it's fine because he's rubber, and the whole platform winds up coming down. Luffy and company go running away. Smoker winds up going and capturing Buggy and Alvida and that's where we get to see his smoke powers and everything, which is really kind of neat what he can do with it. Really kind of scary if you think about it. And as Luffy and company are trying to get away, to get back to the Going Merry, we get a shot of the ship over there. Moji and Richie wind up being very, very easily defeated by Nami and Usopp. They get on the ship, they're getting ready to go. And then we wind up having the rest of the crew that's trying to get to the ship, and they're headed off by White Chase Smoker and Tashigi. Tashigi first confronts Zoro because she didn't realize that he was like the famous bounty hunter, and now he's turned pirate, Roronoa Zoro. And, of course, he didn't know that she was a Marine either, so she looked at it as like a sign of disrespect, started fighting him, and ultimately he very handily defeated her, and then pretty much said, she's like, go ahead, do it. And he's like, no, it's fine, I'm not going to kill you, I don't have the time. And she took it as like a personal insult, like, it's because I'm a woman, isn't it? And he's just like, no, it's just, it's probably just because he doesn't like killing people unless he has to, and overall, she's not like a bad person, so, he's trying to do the right thing here. The significance of this whole battle, though, because then Smoker comes and he's starting to engulf everybody in the smoke, and nobody can do anything to him because he just turns to smoke, he disappears, everything else. All of a sudden, everybody, all the Straw Hat crew kind of gets blown back by like this, almost like tornado-type wind or whatever, a whirlwind, whatever you want to call it. And then we go and we see the mysterious figure Dragon, and he had appeared at the beginning of a chapter of, I believe, 98 or 99, something like that, and he had, and it was just, as the storm was coming in. So we don't know if he's the one. I'm presuming that he's the one who somehow caused that storm. He brought that with him. I don't know what his powers are. I don't know who he is. But I think he's going to be significant over here because then later on he's mentioned as well a few arcs up ahead very briefly and going into the Alabasta arc. So where I'm at now. But ultimately, all in all, even though it was a short arc, it was very, very cool. The Straw Hats are able to get away. Smoker has a brief conversation with this mysterious dragon and something about how the world government's waiting for his answer and you know, some kind of rebel, some kind of refugee, some kind of, you know, I don't know. Really know what his deal is. But this ultimately is the entrance into the Grand Line. And honestly, as a lot of people complained about the first arcs being slow and everything else, they never bothered me because I realized that to go and, you know, to build a world like this, there has to be a lot of groundwork laid. So it didn't bother me. And plus, I know that I've got a lot of source material ahead to go through. But I just didn't think that they were all of a sudden, after Arlong Park, 5 chapters later, be going to the Grand Line. So it was really kind of, I thought something else would get in their way. So they wind up, you know, Straw Hats, you know, they do get away, and then they all kind of go and put their hands in the middle, make a pact about how they're going on the Grand Line, and each one of them announces what, of course, their goal is. You know, Zoro to be the best swordsman in the world. Nami wants to, or I'm sorry, Asanji wants to go in and find the All Blue. Luffy, of course, wants to be the king of the pirates. Usopp wants to, you know, he wants to be able to have these tales of, you know, basically to have a bunch of great war stories, so to speak. You know, to become like this honorable pirate, you know, with all these great stories. And then Nami, of course, you know, she really just wants to see the world, and as far as be able to navigate and create a map of the world is pretty much her deal. So, and then she of course is just happy to be free of all the nonsense from Arlong and his people now. But that being said, all in all, again, a very cool arc, even though it was very short. We did find out a little bit more about the world itself. We saw, of course, Alvida and Buggy again. What winds up happening at the end as they're entering the Grand Line is Smoker he's just like he can't let him go. You know, he's just like, listen, he defies orders from command and takes Tashigi and a crew, and they're gonna go after him on the Grand Line. And then Buggy and Alvida wind up escaping the Marines' grasp as a bunch of the commotions happen and everything else. And they're able to take off, and you know we know that they're also going to go to the Grand Line because they know that's where Luffy's headed. So, like I said, all in all, very, very fun. The major parts that I thought were important is this dragon character. Like to know more about him. Don't know what his connection is with things, and of course, do not tell me because I just honestly don't know. I'm only in the Alabasta arc right now, and we'll be approaching within the next couple of weeks chapter 200. So I'm still way, way behind. And then, of course, the other thing that I really thought was cool was finding out a lot more about the swords. And then, of course, the significance, too, just of Zoro winding up with you know, completing and having 3 swords again to, you know, to be whole again, so to speak, after the loss of his other 2 that were broken in the battle with Mihawk, you know, 40 chapters prior. So, other than that, there wasn't really a whole lot going on as far as character development. I thought it was very good because it was really short, clear, and concise and to the point. And then, as I said, I was just excited that once we hit chapter 100, boom, we're on the Grand Line, or we're going to the Grand Line now. So, all in all, I thought it was very, very cool. And then as far as an arc wrap-up question, really my question would just be, and it'll be with pretty much all of these, is what are your thoughts, brothers and sisters, on this particular arc? I don't want it to get into a big war because I know a lot of people are like, this arc's better than this arc, and that's all just difference of opinion. My opinion is you need all of them to string together to give you the idea, and then you can pick your favorites out of that. But look at the arcs so far, the 10 or 12 that I've read so far, I couldn't do without any one of them, really. I mean, the story is complete by having all those in there. So I don't want to know what your favorite arc is. I just want to know what are your thoughts on this particular arc, brothers and sisters. So leave the answer to that question in the comments down below. Feel free to hit the thumbs up, the like button if you should think that I deserve it. And then subscribe if you have not done so already. We will look forward to catching you in the next one, nation.
I just wanted to mention, too, brothers and sisters, upon looking at this again, I realized that I had missed a brief encounter between Dracul Mihawk and we had a Shanks sighting. Nothing of real significance. Mihawk just informed Shanks of Luffy and his bounty, and Shanks seemed very excited.